starting, clap. The first thing we'll be looking at today is the radial dial Ascher Racing integration. So how do we get the radial dials from the Ascher Racing steering wheel into the Lovely dashboard? And with the new configurator that was released on Saturday, how you can change these labels and why you need to change these labels. Of course, this is for anyone that's using an Ascher Racing steering wheel. Specifically, let me look at my list of compatibility. So the rotary dial function is available on all Ascher Racing steering wheels that have rotary dials, except the F64 USB. The reason for that, if you're wondering, is because the F64 USB does not have the ability to send these signals so we know what's going on. It just cannot. So again, the radial dials, which we'll be looking at tonight, are supported by all Ascher Racing steering wheels that do have the radial dials. So if you're looking at the, I think it's the GT4, it doesn't have radial dials, or it doesn't have any buttons, you can't use it there. Any Ascher Racing steering wheel that has rotary dials will be supported with the following feature. So let me switch over to this screen here. Let me pull up a few things because it's important for you guys to be able to see everything the way it should. Actually, I will be using this screen as well. Yeah, I think this is better. This is better. Let me get rid of this. So, starting off, let me show you what this thing is about as a recap, and then I'll show you how you can customize it. So let me turn on a replay. So we've got a replay, and you will be focusing on the dashboard and the steering wheel. So just so you guys can see, steering wheel is over here. These are the two rotary dials that we will be focusing on, and by turning them, what do we see? Okay, and what we'll be seeing is what is displayed in the actual dashboard. Now, going back to the wide view, nothing is currently displayed on the dashboard. This is by it's how it works. The whole the scripts. So right now, this is I just launched SimHub. I have a replay running, so this could have been your race essentially, but there's no indication on where this is actually set. Right? So these stickers are one of the stickers you can actually buy in the store when it's launched. But right now, just so you know, I have it turned to traction control, but you can't see anything. So what you need to do the first time you launch SimHub, and this is important since nothing is showing there, you need to either turn this and nothing is actually happening. I hope it's not going to crash. And these two buttons are basically controlled by this radial dial. As you can see, nothing is currently showing up, right? So you're probably thinking something's wrong. No, nothing's wrong. The two buttons that this radial dial controls are up here. So these buttons change function depending on where this is positioned. But in order for the dashboard to know what's going on, you need to hit one of these buttons. So when I hit one of these buttons, it shows up. Let me zoom in so you guys can actually see. You can see that it says init. So now it has been initialized. But now, whenever I turn this dial, you'll see that the label is changing. So what this is showing me is, let me just get into the wheel really quick. As you can see, there's TC2, ABS, map ERS, what's this? Front ARB, rear ARB. Now if I go here and I turn the dial, you'll see that it lets me know what position that switch is in. So as I turn this, now it's going to go to ABS. Okay? It changes everything. So I know just by, as I'm driving, I know just by glancing at my dashboard, I know what position the left radial dial is in. Now, as I said, and you may know, this is the modifier version. So this radial dial now controls the function of these two buttons over here. So as I'm driving right now, these two buttons control traction control. I switch it, traction control 2, or cut, or whatever it's called. Doesn't really matter. Now it's controlling the ABS. So literally these buttons over here now, plus and minus, if I go up and down, they will be controlling the ABS. They won't do anything now because this is a replay, but that's how it works. But since this is these are just two buttons that send the signal from the steering wheel, and that number, the signal, the button press changes depending on the position that it's in, I can use this for assortment of things, not just for the car. So, you know, I do have, you know, brake balance here, traction control, and all these things are related to the car. I can also have it for camera. So these two will change the camera in my car. I can also use it for force feedback. So these two now will increase or decrease the gain on my force feedback while I'm driving. It could also have the volume. And of course, you can also change the MFM. So for instance, now that I switch to MFM, the left button controls the MFM and the right one controls the right MFM. Of course, I've got more buttons. I don't use this specifically for this, but I also have this, my joystick controlling the MFMs, but you can also have it for this. So it gives you so many options and features with this new radial dial. And of course, you can also do the same exact thing for the right radial dial. But as you may have noticed, I have a different sticker here. This one over here just has positions, and it's green, and green means it's a map, right? So in my dashboard and in the lovely dashboard, basically, green is map. Everything is color-coded the same exact way. So if you noticed, you know, traction control TC cut is blue, ABS is yellow, bias is red, map is green. So they have the same color coding throughout everything that exists. Lovely dashboard ecosystem. So the right dial for me is just direct input for map. So if I'm on 1, I can switch to 4 and it's map 4. So it's an easy way to do that. Of course, you can make this into a modifier and control another set of buttons. So depending on where this is, I can say in the Ascher Racing Control Center, say the right dial controls buttons 4 and 10 as they're labeled, or the right dial controls this rotary over here, or the right dial controls this rotary over here, or this one or this one. So you have an option of controlling various parts of the steering wheel depending on the position of the radial dial. Now, further, taking this integration further and deeper is the fact that right now, and up until Saturday, these labels were fixed. I had put these in the default settings of the dashboard. Ignition off. Let's go back for the replay. Let's stop it. So I put these were the default values, but you don't want to have the same thing. It's the reason I'm creating these new stickers. So the stickers, you will be able to create your own radial dial. The color coding will be the same, but you can change whatever. Like there's bias, BB, BBAL, migration. You can add anything. And obviously the position, you want to change the label that's on displaying. All right, and that's where the configurator comes into play. So let me pull up the configurator and switch over to this thing over here. So now, if you haven't used the configurator, there is a video on my YouTube for the configurator. You can go through that. But today we'll be looking at a very specific part of the configurator, which is the brand new manufacturer support part, whatever you want to call it. So let's start a new file, and then I'll load mine. If we start a new file, we have all the settings as you already have seen, and you know, per sim settings. But if you go all the way down, now there's the Ascher Racing, and in here, now every manufacturer, they won't be the same. So Ascher Racing has left dial and right dial. These are the labels. Grey Wolf will have a different one because it will be coming. And any other like supported manufacturer will have their own panel with whatever options are available for their steering wheel. So for Ascher Racing, for instance, you can control the left dial labels. This is for position 1 all the way through 12. And then for the right dial, again, you can control the labels that show. So anything you have in here will literally be the label that shows on the screen. And let me zoom in. Perfect. So anything you put in here, anything, these aren't fixed. These are strings, and they have a maximum input of 8 characters, I think. So you can change anything in there. All right. So let me do something. Let me pull in my current configuration, and let's see what I have there. So if you already have a configuration file and you don't want to lose everything you have, you don't need to lose anything. You just go, choose file, and you go all the way into your system, which configuration file lives in the JavaScript extension folder in SimHub. So you go to program files, You find your SimHub folder, you can see it, yes, and JavaScript extensions. And this is where you would have the dashboard settings. So you open this file and you upload it. And here are all my settings, the current ones that I have on my steering wheel. What we want to do is we want to go all the way down to the manufacturer support. All right, and these are currently the labels that I am using on my dashboard, everything here. And you will notice that I have a few defaults for the right one. So there's display, fan, shaker, page, game volume, spotter volume, chat volume, bbox, all these. I don't actually use these, right? I put them in here because they are the defaults because I want to show them to you. So what happens is this already exists in my dashboard, in my settings file, but it doesn't show up yet because the right dial is not a modifier, and I will show you how you do that as well. And there's some other stuff that Martin Ascher uses, pit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Honestly, I don't know, but I think it's a strategy for pit stops. So if you put it on pit 1, 2, then the buttons is 1 and 2 strategy. You can basically, these are like macro triggers. Basically, if you switch it to 1, 2, and we'll see how it displays the message on screen. But if you switch it to 1, 2, then one button is pit 1, the other one is pit 2, so you can have different strategies, and you have to know these things by heart. So what's pit 1, what's pit 2, but I don't know, I digress. You can put anything you want in these labels, all right? So this already exists in my settings file. As you saw, this is where we started. So let me pull up the Ascher Racing, where is it? The software, and show you how you change it. Give me a second, let me pull it up. Should have opened this beforehand, but it's fine. All right, so here's the steering wheel and the software for the steering wheel. Beautiful. You go into the steering wheel and all the way down over here. I know I've shown these before, but now it's complete with the configurator. And you can see my left dial, it controls buttons 3 and 9. And if you don't know what these are, if you go over here, 3 and 9, these are the buttons that the left dial controls. So depending on the position of the left dial, these two buttons change in functionality. Now what I want to do here is the right dial, I want it to be controlling button 4 and 10. And if you don't know, you go back here. 4 and 10 are these two buttons over here, left and right. Okay, so button 4 and 10, always, you can't see it right now because my face is there, but you have to hit this button, right configuration. Basically, when you do that, it uploads these instructions to the steering wheel. And when it goes off, it's done. So now, this thing over here has been updated and now controls the buttons 4 and 10. Actually, let me switch over to POV. So I don't know, I think I may need to... I already had the settings file, so I don't think I need to restart SimHub. I shouldn't. But if I hit any of these two buttons, then this should initialize. There it is. Again, previously, as we saw it before, it says init. And now, if I turn the right dial, you can see the labels that I already had. And in a position. So this is position 1, fan, everything. And now you know that, as you can see in the DDU, the left dial controls traction control 2, and the right dial now controls my shaker. Base shaker, whatever. It could be display, could be anything. And in fact, because you have these on your dashboard, you don't need to have any labels. So this says 12 here, right? So if I switch it over to 12, I know it's pit strategy 1 and 2. So now I also know that because it's in pit strategy 1, 2, this one is 1, this one is 2. Of course, you need to map these buttons again. Okay, you need to map them to whatever you want them to do, but the fact that changing the position of the rotary dial changes the output of these buttons gives you so many options. Literally, these two buttons here and these two buttons here change to 12 positions here, so that's 24 buttons, and another 24 buttons on this end, just by using these 4 buttons and these 2 dials. So it kind of just expands the whole experience of what you can do, and just consider what you can do. And that is basically how this new feature works, and including sorry, wrong button, including the new configurator where you can change all the labels. And that's the first bit. Now, we also, I don't know if you guys have seen it. If you want me, I can just walk you through the rest of the updates that are coming in 2.7, which are basically just the settings of the actual steering wheel using the lovely dashboard. So I'll just run through these really quick. Alongside everything else that we've put into the new lovely dashboard 2.7 that's coming this Friday, it also has manufacturer support as far as the actual steering wheel itself. So this means that a few things that you had to do using the software, you no longer need to do that. So one of the things you can do is calibrate the clutch. So left calibration, you hit these two buttons over here. The dashboard goes into calibration mode, and you pull it all the way, let go, it's calibrated. And the same thing goes for the right paddle. You pull it all the way, it's calibrated. You can also set your bite point if you want to. So holding this button goes into bite point mode, and you can see that the graphics do change on a DDU. It shows you your steering wheel. And now if I pull in my left slave clutch, I can just, based on the instructions I have here, I can rotate the left funky switch, and you can see that the bite point goes up and down by 1 full percentage, and the right one goes down by 0.1 up and down. And if I zoom in, you'll see the instructions are right there. So it's 1 and 0.1. And when I'm done and I'm happy, I let go of everything, right? And I just hold this down. Again, instructions are on the actual DDU, on the log dashboard. And the final thing you can do is basically just clicking these two buttons at any point in time, clicking these two buttons, you can change the output of the paddles in the back. This stays on the screen for 10 seconds. So if I don't do anything for the next 3 seconds, 2, 1, it will go away. But let me zoom in on the dashboard. If I go into this mode, you'll see that it says tap to set analog input mode, which is the button over here. You can't see, but you can see which button it is. When I tap on it, it changes the actual input of the two paddles. Let me go into this mode. As I said, 10 seconds and it goes out. So I can go from throttle brake, slave and master, or master and slave. And if I hit one more time, it lets me know that nothing can be saved. It needs to start over. Essentially, it doesn't loop around. It starts with throttle brake, slave, master, master, and slave. And then if you hit one more, it stops. It basically, you need to let it either exit. You need to either exit the mode or let it exit itself, and then you have to redo it. And if you want to save any of these things, you have to go into the mode. I have it slave and master, and then all you need to do is just hit these buttons, hold them down, and now it's been saved. So 3 functions, 3 features of the lovely of the Ascher Racing steering wheel that have been built into the lovely dashboard basically save you the time of needing to open up the software to do these things. You can do them directly through the lovely dashboard, which I think is a good thing.